What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 51 of the Stand Up Guys podcast. I'm your host, the incomparable Zach Jones, and I'm joined, as always, by, let's see here, the Prince John to my King Richard, Lester Jones. You don't got a impression lined up for that one?
Prince John.
From the Robin Hood cartoon.
He's the one that's like, Mommy.
I was thinking of Richard, what's his name? The guy who plays him in the Robin Hood Man tights.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Richard Lewis?
Yeah.
Richard
Okay.
He's a smoothie.
And of course, we got the ninth wonder, Chocolate Thunder, doing that deed and spreading that seed. The rootin' tootin', skeet shootin', filling up pies with the might of 50 guys. Ain't telling no lies. The phenomenal A.J. Singh.
Oh my God. I can't live up to that. But hello, everyone.
Well, you can live up to it. Start spreading that
Start.
Like Johnny Appleseed over here.
All right, guys. Well, I got to say, generally I start these podcasts off asking you guys, like, if you have any stories from the week or anything, and I never have anything. And I wish that was the case this week, because earlier this week I had probably what's got to be up there as one of the worst days of my fucking life. So it was actually just a little backstory for you guys. About 13 years ago, I got some blood clots in my left leg, and it sucked, but I got treated for it, and they went away and everything. And like at the time, like I had like a really hideously like ingrown toenail, so like I just attributed it to that. I thought, like it fucked up my toe and somehow like led to blood clots or whatever. But it did scare me because, like, when you get blood clots, especially when you're young and you're not supposed to, like, it is, like, a fucking scary thing. So, like, I did, like, start taking a baby aspirin, like, every other day just to keep my blood, kind of thinned out. And, like, not immediately after that, but, like, a couple years after that, I also got in a lot better shape, lost a bunch of weight and stuff like that. I used to be much, much heavier. But anyway, I go all this time, 13 years, without any blood clots, doing fine. And then, like, earlier this year, like, I thought I felt what was the starting of a blood clot in my left leg again. I was like, fuck. But I don't have insurance, so I was like, well, I'm just going to up the amount of baby aspirin I'm taking. And if it gets better, I won't go to the doctor. If it gets worse, I'll go. And I did that, and luckily it dissolved. It went away. I was like, okay, good. So maybe like a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, whatever. Now I start to feel what I'm pretty sure is one starting in my right leg. I was like, fuck. But I was like, well, I got away with it last time. I'll just take a little more baby aspirin, hope that it goes away. Well, it didn't go away, and then, boy, I don't know what it was, maybe last Saturday, maybe, or last weekend, like, I had, like, this, not real painful, but when I, like, breathed in, I had, like, a bit of a side ache or something, and I didn't really even think about it that much, because it wasn't really affecting me that much. Sunday night, I go to bed, and, like, I notice that when I'm in certain positions, like, I'm in a lot of pain. But, like, I just kind of think, oh, maybe my back's out or something, something like that. Anyway, I wake up Monday for work, and, like, I feel fine. And I go to work. I work the whole day. I feel completely fine. I come home, like, eat some dinner, and then, like, I lay down and watch some TV, and then all of a sudden, I'm in just, like, the most horrendous fucking pain. Like, every time I take a breath, this is hard to explain, man. It's almost like you're like breathing in like razor blades or something. It's like you're getting stabbed like every time you take a breath, and like at the same time having like back spasms and shoulder spasms. And like it was one of those things where I was like instantly knew like something's not right here. Like I'm really fucked up and I need to go to the hospital. And I even kind of put it together in my head right then, like, fuck. Not only did the clot in my leg not go away, it traveled to my lung. So instantly, I'm already thinking this is a lung clot. So anyway, he drives me to the ER. I think we get there about 7:30 Monday night, and man, how long do you think it took before I was even seen? At least 2 hours, I would say.
I think it was more than that.
If
Well, if you are you just talking about like the triage?
I'm talking about before they called me the first time. Like I would say we were there at
Yeah,
least
probably.
2.5 hours at least. It took a long time. But anyway, they finally call me, and I go back, and I mean this is just a waiting game really. So I go back, wait a long time. Doctor finally comes in. He just talks to me for a minute. I tell him what's going on, and he's like, "Oh yeah, it definitely sounds like a clot." And he's like, "Since you had them before, like more than likely, it's a genetic disorder. You're just like predisposed to get blood clots, and you're probably gonna have to be on blood thinners the rest of your life." And but anyway, they do like I don't remember the order of all the tests, but like they put me through the battery, man. I get an EKG, I get an ultrasound on my leg where they, making sure or checking for the clots in my leg, chest X-ray. They do all those, some blood work as well. So I'm back out in the yard, like waiting with him again, and for a long time, and like finally they're like had time enough, I guess, to review like all these tests I took, and I go back and like wait some more, and then finally the doctor sees me, and he's like, and I'm already freaking out because I don't have insurance, and I know all these tests already. I'm in the just thousands and thousands of dollars, and the doctor's like, we think it's maybe worse than we thought. He's like, we're gonna have you do another scan, and if it turns out that like you have because like he was basically saying like if it was just one clot in your lungs or whatever, we could right now get you put you on the medication and send you home. But he's like, we think you have multiple, and depending on the size of them and where they're at, like we might have to have you stay the night at the hospital. So I'm like, fuck. So go out in the waiting room again, wait a long time, and then they call me for the test, and actually it's like a CAT scan where they put you in the tube thing. And that was a weird experience because they like for part of that, like they inject this stuff into your veins, and like it makes, he says people like react to it differently. Like some people, he say it feels like they either piss themselves or like shit themselves. I didn't have that, but it did make my lungs like really hot, which is a weird feeling. But anyway, take that test, go back to the lobby, wait some more, probably another hour or more than that before they get the results from that test. And so finally that comes in. I go back. At this point, like it's a different doctor talking to me because the first doctor was like, I don't know if his shift was ending or what. But yeah, it's the bad news. Like I have 3 clots. 2 of them are very sizable. In my lungs, so they are going to make me stay the night. So I find this out, I want to say right around like 4 in the morning. So we've been there since 7:30 to 4 in the morning. And so finally, like I can tell him like, oh, I'm stuck here, but you can finally go home. And so, yeah, they, take me to the hospital room, and like, I've never had to spend the night in the hospital. Like, there is no fucking way I could have slept. Like, first of all, with the way these clots are, like, and still right now as I'm healing up, like, I cannot lay down. Like, I have to sleep in a seated position. If I lay down, I'm in horrendous pain. I always have to be upright. So, like, not only is that, like, prohibiting me to sleep, but, like, it doesn't get dark in the rooms. Like they always leave some light on, and they leave the door open, so it's So, and then like there's always machines like beeping and shit. I'm on IV, and like every once in a while it beeps and shit. And also like my next door, like the guy in the same room as me, like behind the curtain separator. He's like this older guy that had a stroke, but like every once in a while he'll like cough, and he has like this real like deep like smoker's cough, or and so that so there's just like no getting any sleep, not, I don't know if I would have anyway, just being stressed out over everything, and like the hospital bill that's still fucking coming my way, that's going to be just horrendous. Um, but anyway, so I get up the next, or I'm there the next day, and most of that day I'm just confined to my room, and they keep coming in and giving me like blood tests and taking my vitals, that sort of thing. And then there's like one more test that they're going to make me take before they can like clear me and let me go. And it's an ultrasound on my heart. And man, like some of the other tests they had me lay down for, and I was in like some pain during them, but for those other ones, it was a much shorter duration. But this ultrasound they did on my heart, like I had to lay down in like different positions for a long period of time. And I'm not kidding. This was some of the most pain I've ever been in my life. Just like fucking horrendous pain. And like the woman's like having trouble, getting the right imagery, just because I'm having a hard time like getting in the right positions and staying in them. Like I'm trying my best, and she recognizes that. But yeah, god damn, that fucking hurt like hell. Finally, luckily she gets it. And like I would say it took another like 45 minutes just to get like that pain to go away. So yeah, that was horrendous. But luckily, like that test like cleared me. I guess they didn't think the clots were going to affect my heart or whatever. So they prescribed me my medication and let me go. But now this, I got to say, is where like, I mean, I've always been, or at least for a long time now, a proponent of universal health care, like single payer. And I'm like, this whole experience just like makes me want to fucking move to Canada. I swear, I'm almost not even joking about that. Like, it because the truth is like if we had free healthcare, like I wouldn't have made the stupid decision like a week ago when my leg was acting up to take that chance. I would have just went then.
Yeah.
But when you're uninsured and something like that is going to be like a $5,000 minimum, you're like, yeah, I know this is stupid, but yeah, I'm like going to see if I can make it go away on my own. But yeah, I just
And preventative care actually saves a lot more money for companies too anyway. So like if you had like universal health insurance, you'd be able to like get that preventative care and save money in the long run for
a lot of people, yeah. And now, like, I'm in another shitty position again because our healthcare system, where like basically the medication that there's a couple different kind of medications I can get, but the one that's like better costs like $500 a month, and like because of the like copyright laws, patent laws, or whatever, like there won't even be able to be like a generic version of this drug until like 2024 at the earliest. I think that's when they can even try it, like put one on the market and try to, make it generic or whatever. And like there is another option of a cheaper one, that the same one I was on back, 13 years ago. But with that one, you're kind of fucked too, because with that one, you got to go in every, a couple times a month and get a blood thickness test, which, you're going to pay for that too. So, I'll figure it out, but it's definitely a shit show.
yeah. That's
So
fucking
basically,
terrible.
right now you just have to wait till the clots dissolve,
Yeah.
and so you're kind of not out of the water until that happens, right? Like you're not out of the woods.
Right. right. And that's another thing is that they didn't give me like any sort of like follow-up appointment for like a scan at the end of this. So they seem to be fairly confident that the clots will go away.
But they didn't give you like a timeline.
No, no. But when I had them in my leg before, like it seemed like after a week and a half, 2 weeks, they were cleared up. So I'm hoping something similar.
But you had like something different than you had to take some shots in your stomach or something.
Yeah. So back then, yeah, they didn't have the Xarelto, which is what I'm on right now. So yeah, that was fun. So 13 years ago, I actually had to take these shots 5 days in a row, one each day, and I actually had to inject them in myself into my stomach. And yeah, those were not a ton of fun. And the other shitty thing about those, and I was scared like maybe this medication would do this to me, but it didn't. But those really locked up the clots in my leg and made me like immobile. Like I remember I was having you and Crystal and people like actually have to help me walk because I didn't have crutches and I couldn't do it on my own. That was a rough time too. But yeah, blood clots, man. Don't get man. You know, I was
You can choose.
I was
I'm
talking.
paranoid after seeing that. Like I take a baby aspirin now.
It might not be a bad idea because, like, even though you haven't had them yet, you might have some of this like genetic.
Yeah, because mom had one.
Yeah.
Our grandma on the other side, she had a mini stroke.
You know what's freaky is I was actually talking to my boss at work today. Like my main supervisor is a guy, but then his supervisor is a woman, and she was in the office today and she talked to me about it. And she said her daughter has a similar genetic problem, you know, where she's predisposed to them. But her daughter, she said, hers is so bad that she had some clots in her arm. I think she discovered them in March, and they still haven't got rid of them. They put her on like heavy thinners and everything, and like can't get rid of them. So she apparently has a very aggressive like form of it as well.
Man, that reminded me of our cousin who's like disposed to getting kidney stones, and he's had like
Oh yeah, I feel sorry for any.
kidney stones.
I feel so sorry for anybody that gets those routinely, man.
Well, they say it's like worse than like childbirth. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
Does it
nasty.
ever actually come out through the?
Yeah, you
It
piss them
does?
out.
I thought they like do something to get it out before that or something.
Sometimes I think if they catch them early enough, they can kind of break them up with ultrasound.
Oh, okay.
But like, apparently he's just getting like a ton of them.
I'd almost be like, can you give me some sort of like colostomy bag sort of thing that can just collect these? Because yeah, I would hate having to pass those all the time. Good God.
Yeah. Ugh. There's a lot of nasty shit that can happen.
You know, I will say I kind of have a regret, even though I'm sure it would have ended in nothing. It's like I almost thought about it. I almost thought about asking my nurse on a date, like when she was walking me out. I don't know. I just like really like. She was like super nice. I'm sure she's like taken or whatever, you know. But I was like, I don't know. Like I'm sure she's like super nice to everyone because she's a nurse. But I was like, you know what? I fucked up. I should have just asked her out. A misconnection type thing.
Were you guys vibing? Like, was she cool and stuff? And
You can go hang out at the hospital.
She did compliment my eyes once.
oh, all right.
I fell and broke my dick.
So if you were the nurse wearing red scrubs taking care of me, and you're still interested, let me know. Oh man. So that was my shit show of a week that I had. That was shitty. All right. Well, that took up like 20 minutes. Now, I should have left off with this in the show so people actually listened and didn't just go like, oh, don't want to listen to this guy's sad sack story. But we will be doing a Loki series review later on in the show. But I'm curious, did you guys have time to watch anything else besides Loki this week that you wanted to talk about?
I pretty much just watched Loki, maybe a little more Broad City.
Yeah, I just watched Loki.
And Splash.
Yeah, the edited version of Splash, without Daryl Hannah's butt cheeks. Apparently, that's what I heard.
Aw.
I actually watched kind of a hodgepodge of things this week. Like I did watch Loki, of course, but I watched a couple more episodes of Black Lightning. I watched season 2 of this sketch show on Netflix called I think You Should Leave. I think is what it's called.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that.
And like just like a lot of sketch shows, like they're definitely not all winners.
Right. Yeah.
But it's one of those things where it goes by, like it keeps at a pace where like it keeps moving. So even if there's a sketch you don't like, it keeps moving. In fact, I think the episodes are only something like 15 minutes long. Like I watched the whole season in like under 2 hours. So it's a really like fast show. Like I don't even know if I'd recommend it. Like there was some funny stuff in there, but also a lot of stupid stuff. It's a real kind of mix. And then I saw you watching this like maybe one of the last times we had Disney, but I watched Swiss Family Robinson.
Right. Yeah, I did watch that. That was a while ago.
I just like, yeah, I was just like in the mood for it, and I watched it, and like
It is a bit nostalgic, and
it is, yeah.
yeah, not a bad movie.
No, not bad at all. You can totally watch Swiss Family Robinson. I want to say, like, I'm surprised they haven't like remade that, but I want to say like they did make like a shitty made-for-TV version of it when I was a kid.
Let's see, that's possible. I don't know.
I've never even. I've heard of the name, never seen it. Swiss Family Robinson is just like another.
This is just like Disney Vault movies.
Oh, okay.
It's like
Yeah,
stuff we watched as kids.
It's a Swiss family, and they decide to move to like Papua New Guinea because apparently they're building in new settlements there or something. I don't know when this is, the 1800s sometime. But then they get shipwrecked on this island, and they basically have to learn to live on this island. It's just filled with all sorts of like exotic animals and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah,
And they build like
tigers
this
and-
really cool like house in the tree house.
Right. And in the end, they have to fight pirates, and so they set all these booby traps. and
Yeah.
it's
Oh.
Big old fight.
Totally watchable.
Why did the pirates want to go after them?
Well, they had shipwrecked, and like they thought the pirates were going to come raid the ship that they were on. And so I think the idea was that they had something of value, possibly.
Oh, okay.
Well, to begin with, once they're shipwrecked, like the pirates are gonna come after the salvage, and then like the dad's smart, so he puts up the quarantine
Right. He
flag,
puts up like a bubonic
and so they're like,
plague or
yeah, so they
something.
go away, and then eventually, like, they want to see if they can find a way, off the island. So they send their 2 oldest kids, to like go out on their own and kind of circle the island and see what they can see, and then they run into those pirates again. And like they have this like kid, like 14-year-old captured, and they end up like rescuing the kid from the pirates, and so and taking him back, and then eventually the pirates find him again. So. All right. Should we get this show on the road? I believe, as tradition dictates, AJ, we usually let you go with the first topic.
All right. I want to just get into the Marvel quiz because we're going to talk about Loki and stuff.
We've ate up some time. Let's go ahead and knock out the quiz, and we'll talk about Loki, and we should be done by then.
Sweet.
All right. You guys ready? And we'll start here. What is the most powerful being in Marvel? So what's the name of like God in Marvel?
Galactus?
Anything?
I think we did talk about something before, but I don't remember it.
All right. The one above all. That's what he's referred to as. So nobody gets the points on that one. Who enforces the rules of the one above all? So who keeps balance in the universe?
Boy, yeah, you're going down a rabbit hole I've never. Is this like Eternals type shit?
No, this is just regular, Doctor Strange, like this being used to regulate just magic, like the balance of magic in the universe, but now he like regulates everything in the universe. He's like the enforcer for the one above all.
Yeah, I didn't even
Man,
know.
this is gonna be
The one
bad.
above all is something I've never heard.
Ooh, this is
We're
good.
swinging for the
Let's see if you
fences.
guys go 0 for 15. Let's see.
Yeah, I don't know this one. What's the answer to this one?
The Living Tribunal.
Yeah, I would have never got that.
The thing is, I never really read Marvel comics.
All right, well, let's see how this goes. Who is Marvel's first black superhero?
Black Panther?
No. It's a good guess, though.
Well, I mean,
I don't know.
This was retconned in like the early 2000s.
was it Isaiah Bradley?
Yeah.
I mean,
No, not Isaiah Bradley. It's what's his name? Blue Marvel.
oh, Blue Marvel.
Yeah.
Now, would Black Panther be the first black superhero that they published?
Yeah, he would.
Oh, okay.
Who surrendered in Civil War? So between Captain America and Iron Man, which side surrendered?
I don't think. I think that's one I didn't watch. because
Now,
it's
are you
like-
talking
No, not in the movies, in the comics.
in the comics?
Well, I didn't watch it and I didn't read it. Iron Man.
50-50 shot.
Yeah, I'll say Captain America.
Yeah, Captain America.
Well, in the comics, didn't Captain America die right at the end of Civil War?
I don't know if he died. I just remember he surrendered. I'm not sure about that. I know Goliath died in Civil War.
I want to say right at the end of Civil War was the death of Captain America storyline.
Oh, okay. My phone keeps clocking up. All right. Who were the Ivory Kings? You guys are just not going to get this one.
I gotta say, yeah, I don't know where you found these, but these are some obscure ones.
Just off the top of my head.
The Ivory Kings.
What's the question? Just who are they? Or
Yeah, who were referred to as the Ivory Kings?
Oh, someone was referred to. So, multiple. The British.
it's a solid guess. I'm honestly thinking Ivory Kings.
Owen Reese saw them kill the Living Tribunal.
Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna get this. Go ahead.
This is the Beyonders.
I mean, I've at least heard of the Beyonder.
There was one Beyonder before who was childlike compared to the other Beyonders who were even more powerful. Who was finally well, you're definitely not going to get this one. I'll say it and then I'll tell you the answer. Who was finally able to stop Protege from conquering everything? The Skathan the Approver, the Celestial Skathan the Approver.
God damn, man. You found some hard ass questions here.
Who used the power of the Beyonders to create a world with all heroes and villains?
Stanley.
Technically, I guess.
Let me. Doctor Doom.
Yes.
Wow.
Who is Superior Spider-Man?
Doctor Octopus.
Yes. All right. Who is Marvel's version of Aquaman?
Namor.
Yes. A little bonus question: who came first, Namor or Aquaman?
Namor.
Well, I guess I have to go Aquaman.
Lester's right.
I did think it was
Like
Namor.
250-50.
I did think it was Namor, but he beat me to
I
it.
had to race. I had to try to get a point.
Who was the first mutant?
Oh, I should know this.
Magneto's the earliest I can think of.
I'll give you a clue. It's a woman from 17,000 BC.
Oh, it's not who I was going to guess then. God damn it, I feel like I really should know this. It's not coming to me.
Selene.
I have heard that, but I wouldn't have got it.
Who is the in the comics? Who is Wanda Maximoff and Quicksilver's father?
Magneto.
Yeah.
Now, how old? Because the one before that, I was gonna guess before you said that I was gonna guess Apocalypse because he would be a pretty
He's old too.
mutant, right?
Yeah, I think he's like 10,000 BC or something. I'm not sure about that. In the comics, I already said that. In the Eternal storyline, who is lying dormant in the earth?
God, I've read like one Eternals comic in my life, and I really don't remember any of their names. In the Earth, I'll guess his name is like Terran.
It might be. I think it's Tiamat, the Dreaming Celestial.
Tiamat. Okay.
You're pretty close. All right. Who is the most powerful version of Kang, the Conqueror?
Isn't that the name of the brain guy in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
That's Krang.
Krang, I was close, yeah. I almost made a reference to something.
Kang the Unstoppable.
Immortus.
Kang.
Oh, damn, I have heard of Immortus.
Where is Thanos originally from?
Titan.
Yes. Who takes the mantle of Thor after Odinson and is also dying of cancer at the same time?
Jane Foster.
Yep, that's it. So you got the last.
Zach did pretty impressively.
Yeah, you got 7 out of 15.
I got 1.
7 out of 15 isn't that good.
That's pretty good. I mean, these were pretty.
Those were some hard ass questions.
Yeah. All right. We'll let it go to Lester.
I got nothing.
Oh, all right.
You guys just want to get into Loki?
Let's get into
Let's
Loki.
go Loki.
I mean, we're at a half hour, and I imagine this will probably take it. We can probably talk about Loki for another 30 minutes. And if not, I guess
if anyone made it this
Same
far.
here.
yeah, if anybody made it past my sad sack hospitalization story,
Possible Marvel question. Although you got almost half, so pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, I know some shit, but god damn, those like Celestial and
The thing is, I think even if I would have read it once upon a time, I never would have remembered.
yeah, it's like that like Ground Eternal. Like he probably was in the story I read, but yeah, I wasn't gonna remember that. Okay, well, we watched Loki on Disney Plus. Series info. In Marvel Studios' Loki, the mercurial villain Loki, Tom Hiddleston, resumes his role as God of Mischief in a new series that takes place after the events of Avengers Endgame. You guys might already look. Do you know what this got Rotten Tomatoes wise? What are you going to guess?
They always seem to go a little higher than I'd expect. I'm going to say 92.
I'll say 93.
91. Let's see. Well, actually, then it says... Oh, wait. At one spot it says 91, but then at the top it says 92, so I think it was 92.
Oh, close.
All right. The series features Tom Hiddleston as Loki, Sophia Di Martino as Sylvia, Owen Wilson as... I don't know if it actually said this in the show, but here it says his character's name is Mobius M. Mobius.
Yeah.
Did it say that in the show? Like they called it
Mobius, but
yeah,
it wasn't like
I didn't know it was like Mobius M. Mobius.
the M stands for Mobius.
I'm gonna pronounce this lady's name wrong. Gugu Mbatha Raw is Ravana Renslayer.
That sounds like a song.
And Bunmi Musaku is Hunter B-15. All right. So yeah, let's get into it. I guess spoiler free first. Like, what did you guys think of the series overall?
I liked it. It was fun. It wasn't like beating around the bush. It kind of like laid out the storyline for you, and every episode revealed the answers that you were looking for. So I liked it.
Yeah, I thought it was all right. I had maybe a couple reservations. I still feel like he doesn't really trick anybody. Like Owen Wilson was trickier than he was.
Yeah, we'll get into it. There was definitely a couple things that I'm like raised a few eyebrows at that I'm like, I'm not sure about that. But we'll get into that. But yeah, overall, I did like the show. Definitely liked it more than Winter Soldier. It'd be close if I was really to put this up against WandaVision. Like, I don't know which I like better between this and WandaVision. I think it'd be close for me. What about you guys?
I like the theorizing in WandaVision. That was fun. There was some theorizing with Loki too, but there's a lot more intrigue and mystique with WandaVision, and there's still that lingering kind of like, what is going to come out of WandaVision? Like, what's the next step? Where with Loki, we kind of know. So, I mean, WandaVision does have that mysterious kind of feel to it, but Loki was just, it had like Tom Hiddleston. I like him. He's a good actor, so. And I thought Sophie DiMartino was good too, so I liked her too.
Yeah, I liked her.
Yeah.
I felt like WandaVision was maybe a little more uneven, or maybe not as consistent. Like every episode of Loki was pretty decent, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, for consistency's sake, Loki might be better. Yeah, because like even though like in WandaVision, I did kind of like appreciate those first couple episodes where they were like parroting like old time television.
Right.
Like there was something cool about it, but at the same time, you're kind of like looking at your watch, being like, okay,
where's the plot?
I think we can maybe get things going a little more, and then they do, and then it's fine. But all right, well, I'm going to start off with a question for you guys that confused me a little bit right off the bat. Is so we start off and it just kind of recaps that part in Avengers Endgame where we see him, the early version of him right after the original Avengers movie gets the Tesseract and gets out of there. Now, this part confused me because he has used the Tesseract before. I mean, he used it in the Avengers movie, but for some reason here he uses it and it spits him out of the sky like into the desert.
Well, like he splits into like a different time, so maybe before he was just moving in space. Because it's when you create the new timeline, that's when they come for you or whatever.
Yeah, I get that. I just didn't know why the Tesseract would have acted like different for him than it ever did before.
Yeah, I was confused in the first one because when Red Skull used the Tesseract, he got sent away and like punished. And then Loki used it however he wanted. And then this time Loki used it and he got sent out to like the middle of nowhere and got caught by the TVA. So that was a little inconsistent, I would say, for me.
Yeah, I don't know if they ever really explained why, Red Skull was like put in that role he was.
Yeah.
Like he looked cool and everything.
But who put him there?
But yeah, I don't know what cosmic. It must have been the one above all or whatever you're talking about. Which I've read a lot of Marvel comics. I've never heard of the one above all. Whatever. Must have not have read the right ones.
You gotta be a nut like me, man.
But yeah, the Tesseract for whatever reason spits him out in the desert, and then like he gets up and immediately a time door opens and the TVA comes in,
which is a bureaucracy that controls time.
Yeah, yeah, and so they take him and like. They basically immediately like put him up against up front that Judge Renslayer, right?
Right.
And they're like, "You've committed, an act against the timeline. How do you plead or whatever?" And then like they're going to like prune him or whatever, but then Owen Wilson's character sees him and thinks that he can use him. Oh, maybe before, I don't know, maybe it was before that they show where he went back in time and was investigating like the death of one of his colleagues because like somebody's been killing TVA agents,
right?
And like he goes back. I don't remember exactly where it was, in like some church or something, and like this little kid walks by and he's like, "Boy, did you see what went on here?" And then he like. This is a thing that I thought was going to be like a bigger thing. It didn't end up really being, but like the kid's teeth is blue and he's like, "Where'd you get those blue teeth, boy?" And he's like, shows him like the bubble gum and he takes it. And I'm like, oh, that's going to be like a major clue. And I guess it is. It eventually does come into play, but not in as big a way as I thought.
You did think it was going to be like a a significant lead, I guess.
Like I thought, like we would find out that the killer was like chewing that bubble gum or something like that. You know.
This was only made between 1950 and 1952.
But yeah, like so Owen Wilson gets Loki and he puts him in like this interrogation room where he basically shows him. Now this is another problem I'll get to. So he shows him basically this video of what the Loki we know throughout the MCU basically did. He told the lie that led to, or like told the thing that ended up getting his mother murdered or whatever.
Right, that would have been like his timeline if somehow he hadn't split off and created a new timeline, which he wasn't supposed to do.
Yeah.
So basically, he caused his mother's death. But also, like, they don't really go into it, but I think that's supposed to be part of the turning point of his character. Like he makes decisions off of that, I guess.
Well, let's talk about this because this is one of the problems I have is if you go back and watch the first Avengers movie, which basically this version of Loki would be fresh off that first Avengers movie.
Right.
If you watch that movie, he's essentially Hitler. I mean, he's trying to subjugate everybody. Like, there's literally like the part in that movie, in the like first part of that movie, where he like goes to Germany, and he's like making all these people kneel, and like this one like Jewish guy stands up to oppose him, and he's like about to like kill him when Captain America comes in. So like he's like a really bad dude in that movie.
Hey, he took someone's eye out too.
Yes, yes, and they've referenced that as well. And basically, you know, then for us, we see Loki throughout all these years in MCU movies, and we kind of see him slowly become the better Loki that we know him to be.
Right. I think that's part of their trouble is trying to shift his character.
That's the thing. So he watches these videos and basically immediately goes from Hitler Loki to the Loki we already know.
Right.
And I'm like, that's the part I have a tough.
Right. It's not a smooth transition.
It's not.
And it's not clear. Really.
I don't know. I mean, like, he saw his pretty much whole family die. I mean, that's enough to change somebody.
I mean, I'm not saying it wouldn't change him, but it just felt a little quick to me. And plus, it's like, maybe the series, well, I mean, I like the series, so it's hard telling, but maybe the series would have been better, like, if we got, like, a Loki that was decidedly different from the one we already knew, rather than the one that just immediately becomes the one we already know.
Yeah, maybe like a slower, different transition. I mean, it's going to be a tough transition anyway because, like you said, he was painted so dark. So, I don't know. But also, like, I feel like it tried to put him in a new light, like, maybe that's why he doesn't seem like he's ever tricky to me. Like, maybe they're trying to, like, make him not be bad. And so he's like, he doesn't really, I don't know, does he tell any big lies in this? Like, he does a couple little illusions or, like, pickpocketing. It's like, it's nothing very tricky.
Well, like, there's, like, the beginning of, I think it's episode 2, where they bring him on that first case to that, like, medieval fair or whatever. And, like, he tells him, like, you know, if you go outside the tent, you're going to be killed by the killer. And, like, that ends up being a lie. But I was like, it was weird, and I never really understood what he was going for.
Well, when I saw that, like, I was like, because he read it as a lie and he pulled out everybody. And I was like, was it a lie or was it the truth? Like, I wasn't sure.
Yeah. I will say there's like this bit of dialogue back in the interview room between him and Owen Wilson where, like, you know, Owen Wilson is kind of telling about the TVA and how, like, they, you know, get rid of variant timelines that don't belong or whatever.
Right.
And they basically make this metaphor of how Loki, in the way he wanted to subjugate people, was basically exactly like this TVA that he's now complaining about, you know, because they're basically making people live a certain way as well, because they're, like, you know, getting rid of all the variants and whatever. So they did make, like, a comparison, I remember, in all their like dialogue in that first scene they're together with. Let's see what else happens. I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, kind of end of episode 1. They tease the killer, right? And she like burns those TVA guys alive and like steals another like bomb, reset bomb. Now that's another thing is like, you know, we after we're introduced to Sylvie, like they make us like her, you know, pretty quickly. But like she's like done some pretty terrible shit too, right?
She murdered a bunch of people who were, if you look at it, innocent.
Yeah, I know. So it's like instantly we're supposed to like forgive Hitler Loki because he saw his mom die, and then like like same with her. It's like, oh, okay, that's a quick transition, I guess. So yeah, I think episode 2 starts like we were saying, where he goes on that first mission with them, and then somehow that leads to him like having the theory that like she's hiding from them in like apocalyptic situations.
Right, because like whatever she's doing, they know she's moving through different timelines and stuff, but she never shows up as like a deviant, which usually anything variant, like anything different in the timelines, it pops up and they say, oh, there's something going on here. So the idea is like she's going to places where everybody dies, so by going there, she's not changing history.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's how he kind of like tracks her down. That's like his insight or whatever.
And I did think that was like kind of a clever idea.
Yeah.
To explain how she's been like avoiding
them, yeah.
So eventually, and this is where the gum comes in, because they're like trying to find her, and like so they're looking through all these like times where an apocalypse has happened, and he's like, oh, this store that was going to be wiped out in a hurricane would have had this brand of bubble gum in it. So that was where they kind of, you know, brought that in. So yeah, they go to that storm in 2050 Alabama, and they go to that store, and
Roxcon.
Oh yeah, Roxcon, which in the comics there is a like kind of evil, you know, take on Exxon called Roxxon. So we get that kind of Marvel reference in there. So they go in there and like they split up, and Loki's stuck with the big black woman, Hunter 15, I believe they call her.
Something like that.
And like she touches this guy, and like we find out that guy was enchanted by this mystery Loki, and that transfers to her. And then basically like has a conversation with Loki, transferring through like multiple other like people in the store, I guess. Is that what you would say?
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
Until eventually like one like kind of beats him up. Now, okay, this is another question I have for you guys. Because at the end of this episode, kind of like the cliffhanger type of thing, is we find out, well, first of all, so they have these bombs, like anytime there's a variant timeline,
right?
They plant one of these
resets
bombs, reset bombs. Now I was wondering, like, what exactly does the reset bomb, what does it do? Does it like hurt people, or does it just like set time back a certain amount?
Yeah,
I think basically whatever that branch was in the timeline, it prunes that branch or whatever.
And it just basically puts it back to how it would be if the variant never happened.
Right. Something like that.
Okay. So we basically, at the cliffhanger is we find out she took all of these bombs that she got from the TVA guy she's been killing, and she sets them to go on into all these different timelines, and like we see the TVA like it starts causing chaos. Like it's splitting the timeline,
Right.
and all these variants. Now I missed something. Why didn't that plan work? Like what happened that stopped it?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
They never really explained that.
I mean,
to
I guess
me.
if they like methodically went back and like fixed all of those.
Something like that. Maybe she was just trying to get them all out of the building doing that while she went back.
Oh yeah, because
Like a
she.
distraction.
Okay, because she did go to the TVA like right after that, and like that's when Loki follows her. But I was just like, that seemed like a really good plan. Why didn't it work? And they never really like explained like, oh, we sent our guys out and they just fixed all these problems. So then I believe that's where like Loki follows her back. They have a conversation, but eventually like it leads to them fighting, and Loki transports him to like an apocalypse that she's been to before, which is like this planet that's being destroyed by like
Right.
the moon or whatever. Yeah. Oh yeah. I'll try to remember, but I have a question about this episode as well towards the end. So let's see. Do you guys remember what happened? Oh yeah, it's like they're just basically trying to survive, and
Right.
like
So their first mission is to make it to like this ship, and so they can get off of the planet, and then that goes to hell.
well, originally they don't need the ship to actually get off the planet. They need it to use its power source to power the tempad.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't remember exactly.
Yeah, because Loki has the tempad. He like hides it on himself using his magic. But then like we find out that it's like out of juice or something.
Right.
So like yeah, their plan is to go to this ship where it'll have the power source they need. Somewhere in there, like they get on this train that goes to
Yeah. Some other plan.
the ship or whatever. And so this gives them a little bit of time to have a conversation, and we can kind of see that they like each other.
Right. And that's like the weird part is the sexual tension.
Between Loki and himself.
Yeah. You're like, is this dude gonna like fuck himself?
Yeah.
Like if I had titties, I'd fuck myself.
Yeah, it's like that, man.
I mean, but she doesn't like look like him.
Well, that's yeah. You probably wouldn't want that.
In a way, it might be the best. Like, I have all this in common with this person, and it's a hot chick. Like, it might be the perfect setup.
Be a super inbred child.
It does kind of feel like he'd be fucking his sister.
Yeah.
But I mean, we'll get into it. Like the very end credits thing in this thing is that there will be a season 2. Like, and we see that they really like each other at the end of this. So you don't think there's going to be a little mixing of the Lokis eventually?
I don't know.
I'm rooting for it.
I want to see what
Yeah, I'm kinda rooting
see what
for it,
that
too.
kid looks like.
And actually, like,
Alligator Loki.
yeah, they can have an orgy. They can have an orgy and include alligator Loki and big muscle. I guess old ass Loki died, but they can find another one. There's just like this orgy of Loki. I'd pay a Disney Plus to
one
watch that.
chick.
Yeah,
One chick.
and all the realities there's just one female Loki. They're like, fuck. It's like, no, the alligator's a woman. Damn. Oh man. So yeah, like they we can see on this train ride that they're into each other. And then oh yeah, they get in a fight with the bad guys on the train, and Loki's apparently not a good fighter, even though he's always been portrayed as a pretty good fighter in the movies.
Well, wasn't he like he was drunk or something?
Oh, yeah.
I guess he was a little
He was
drunk.
drunk.
But yeah, basically he just gets the old no ticket like
Indiana Jones out the window.
thrown out the train, and that works. And so then they're like, oh, we're fucked. We're not going to get the pad working. Or maybe I think the pad gets busted then.
Yeah.
Something.
And so they're like, he's like, well, we'll just actually have to get to the rocket and get off the planet. And she's like, it always gets destroyed or whatever. He's like, well, we weren't here before, so we can like change that destiny or whatever. So they eventually end up, where the rocket escape thing is. And of course, it gets blown up. So now they're just totally fucked and just waiting to die, basically. Now, this is what I wanted to get to. So this is towards the end of the episode. Like, they have this connection. They're like holding each other's hands or whatever. They have this love connection.
Right. They're sitting there. The moon is coming, whatever. There's big asteroids falling down. Like, it's the end of the world.
Yeah, and their connection is strong enough that it creates a variant on its own, which draws in the TVA, and they get them.
Yeah, which they pick them up. However, they're in an apocalyptic event, so why did that register?
Yeah, how come that worked? Nothing should matter.
Yeah, so there's that question, and also, like, maybe they can explain this in season 2, but we certainly don't get it in season 1, is like, why?
Why holding hands was...
Why does holding hands create a variance?
Yeah.
So, that's one part of this series that I'm like...
That's a bit of a deus ex machina.
It is. It's a little convenient, and even if they come up with an answer to it, I'm going to be like, I don't know. I was like, it was clever the apocalypse, hiding in the apocalypse was clever, but now totally going back on that with this thing because it's special love or whatever makes me go, I don't know.
Yeah.
There was also one scene where there was like the little girl where like they just showed her like playing with the ship and like the time police came and got her.
Oh yeah, Sylvie is a little girl, right?
That seems kind of like I don't know. It just seemed kind of pointless. I guess maybe they just wanted to put that backstory in there.
I guess so. Well, there's like a point later on. Actually, I think in the next episode we're going to talk about where she gets in a fight with that Judge Renslayer, and she's like, "What did I do? Like, what did I do to be a variant?" Like, and like the one lady's like, "You know what? I don't even remember," or whatever, and. Like, I don't know if that was a lie or they're just, like, honestly showing that, like, she's, like, a dickhead or whatever. I don't know. But, yeah, so now the TVA has both of them in prison. And they put Loki in this, like, time loop where he keeps getting busted in the balls by Lady Sif.
Lady just comes and kicks him in the nuts every 30 seconds.
Which you'd think he would just start covering his nuts, right?
Right. But he kept trying to talk to her.
Yeah, he's like, I'll talk my way out of it this time.
And I'll leave my
nuts.
Yeah. And I'm so confident I'll talk myself out of it. I will leave my nuts totally exposed.
Get yourself together, Loki. You got this. This is your round.
I don't even feel it anymore. Yeah. He's got those magic nuts that can take a beat. I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah, so Owen Wilson asked the Renslayer lady, like, and I guess we didn't mention this. So, like in episode 2, there's this other hunter lady that was abducted by Sylvie. And Sylvie used her magic to show this woman that she wasn't always in the TVA, that she had a life before the TVA. And so, like, Owen Wilson asked, like, what happened to her? And Renslayer's like, oh, she died?
Mm-hmm.
Or well,
like,
I think she didn't. They were like, she was supposedly, like, fell mentally apart after.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, she just went crazy or was retarded or something.
I don't remember if they said she committed suicide or what, but they said she was gone or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, I think they had her in holding because he was trying to see her. Did they say she was dead?
She wasn't really dead, I think. They said she was dead, though.
Oh, okay.
So, like, Owen Wilson has a conversation with her, and they're, like, old friends. But, like, at the same time, he can he's sensing that she's not being on the up and up. So he steals her, like, pad or whatever.
Right, iPhone.
Yeah, I think they call it a temp pad. because the other thing is he really wants to interview Sylvie, but she won't let him, so he's suspicious there too. And so he gets her temp pad and he looks at it, and he sees a video, basically of that Hunter C20 or whatever her name was, saying that she knows she had a life before the TVA, and then I don't remember but anyway, now Owen Wilson knows that the Renslayer lady is totally full of shit and lied to him, and so I'm jumping around, but before Loki told him that the TVA was lying to him, and he didn't believe it.
Right. Basically, the story was everybody who works for the time variance police or whatever is a variant themselves, and somehow they've been recruited into the thing, but they don't remember their past life.
Yeah, their memories have been taken from them. And I guess to go back, when he first meets Morbius, Morbius tells him that the TVA has always existed. He's always been a time cop or whatever. Everybody there has just always been.
Remember that movie Time Cop?
Oh yeah, John. We should review that on the podcast.
Watch that. Anyways, sorry.
Oh, and what did you guys think? Going all the way back to episode 1, did you think it was silly that they just had a drawer full of Infinity Stones?
No, I thought it
somehow
silly,
they had no
but...
power in that dimension or whatever.
And I think that's what made Loki basically give up running from the TVA. He's oh, if Infinity Stones don't work here, the Tesseract doesn't work, and I'm not going to be able to, outrun these people or whatever. So this causes Owen Wilson to go back to Loki, and he's okay, I believe you. Let's get out of here. But as soon as they go out, the judge is all already up in his business.
Yeah.
And Owen Wilson has this thing where he likes water skis, jet skis, but he doesn't know why. And then he's tells the lady.
I'm surprised that never came into play. Actually.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, I thought it would too. Of course, season 2, we can still get him on that jet ski. I bet you before the series is out, we see him on that fucking jet ski. Yeah. And so they prune him, and which means they stick him with that stick, and he just goes away.
They dissolve, and for a long time I just thought that meant they were dead, but apparently it's sending them to this garbage dimension with this giant beast.
I thought the same thing because in the beginning when Sylvie's fighting him, she's just doing that to everyone, and I'm okay, we're supposed to like this lady that's just blatantly killing everybody. Although once we get to it, pruning them, I think a lot of people that get pruned eventually die in the hellscape they're sent to.
The only people who seem to live there were the Loki versions.
Pretty much. Yeah. So yeah, I think it is still
and
pretty
Owen
much.
Wilson.
yeah. Owen Wilson, who conveniently makes it. So yeah, he gets pruned, and they take Loki and Sylvie to the what do they call them? The three.
Oh right, the
Time Lords, Time
Lords.
Something like Time Lords.
I think it is Time Lords. That's another part of the mythology, Mobius told him about. And they go. I don't know about you guys, but I honestly the voice they use for these Time Lords or Timekeepers. I couldn't really even understand what they were saying. I should have turned on captions.
They were goofy.
Yeah.
But it does kind of tie into when they first walk into the TVA and they have to do that test to see if they're a robot or not. And then it turns out the people who are actually running the TVA are robots.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even think about that. But yeah, you're right. They won't let robots through. Yeah. But then those guys end up being robots. That's kind of interesting. I didn't think about that. Yeah. Oh, now I got to go back again. Man, I can't tell this story.
There's a lot of little details.
Yeah. So, the big black lady, 115 or whatever, at some point, she thinks something's going on. So, she, so to avoid like detection, brings Sylvie back to that apocalyptic hurricane store they were at before, and like has her use her magic to show Hunter 15 who she used to be.
Right.
So then once she learns that, she's like on their side basically. And so when they're in that room, she comes in and basically saves him because they were going to kill him, but she like throws him a weapon or whatever. And then Loki and Sylvie basically kill everyone in the room except Judge Renslayer, which they should have, I guess. And then Sylvie like cuts the head off of one of the timekeepers, and we find out that they were just robots. But then, since she didn't kill Renslayer prunes Loki, and
then they're all in the wasteland.
Yeah, and so there is like that one after credits scene for that episode, and I think that's like the only other episode that has an after credits thing. Loki wakes up and he sees the other Loki versions, the kid, the old man, and the black Loki. I don't think the alligator's in that one, but
I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
But yeah, all these different versions of Loki.
Yeah. So then episode 5 starts, and we kind of get dual stories. We got Loki, like, being introduced to
like a small group of
Lokis. And then we also, back in the TVA, we got Renslayer and Sylvie going at it with each other. And when Sylvie learns that, well, I don't remember, but I think Renslayer starts getting the upper hand, and she prunes herself.
No, Sylvie, so they're fighting at first, and Sylvie does get the upper hand, and then Renslayer, like, divulges information to buy time. So she starts telling her, like, oh, they're not dead, they're at this other place at the end of time. And
oh, that's right.
she reveals all that.
That's right.
And then she does get the upper hand because her backup comes in, and then Sophie gets behind something and, like, does prune herself.
Yeah, that's right. So then she's transported to the place and instantly is like by this like fog monster. And so she's running away, and like at the same time there's like this weird thing where she gets the sense that she can enchant it.
Right, it gets close enough that she kind of senses its like mental state or something, or its presence.
Yeah. Now, here comes one of the other most convenient parts of this whole story. There's this pizza car with like this slice of pizza going on top of it that comes and like picks her up in the nick of time. And who's driving it? Owen Wilson. Now,
Good old Owen.
Not only like we mentioned, like I think he's the only other regular human here, which you would think there would be some others, but everyone else there is Loki.
Yeah, Lokis are survivors.
And like, yeah, it was just too convenient for me. What do you guys think of that moment?
Yeah, I mean, if it's a whole planet or whatever it is, like, that people are being sent to, what are the chances that she would show up right in front of Mobius, like, at that moment? And then they would meet Loki at some point, too. Like, wouldn't they... Do they all end up in the same spot when they get pruned?
It seems
like,
pretty localized. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one thing is like, I have no idea how big that space is, but it just, I don't know. Yeah, it seemed really convenient to me. A little too convenient.
Right? And that monster shows up, like, as soon as you make a sound or whatever, as soon as you do something.
Right,
So,
it seems like it always chases whatever's closest or something.
Yeah, it was weird. But anyway, they drive away, and then I think it cuts back to Loki and the Loki squad.
Right, and this is where there's something happens, and like he's trying to leave, and like there's a whole another bigger group of Lokis.
Oh, that happens, yeah. So the other group of Lokis is trying to, like, take over and become the new, like, leader.
Right. So they're having their own infighting.
Yeah, and then they're betrayed by Black Loki. And then the other Loki is betrayed by all the other Lokis with him.
Right.
They're all just betraying each other.
Alligator Loki bites a dude's hand off.
Yeah.
That was a highlight.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And he screams like crazy.
I noticed each of these shows, they do seem to be building the Young Avengers. We mentioned WandaVision. We got her two sons. Falcon and Winter Soldier. Falcon and Winter Soldier. We got Isaiah Bradley's grandson or whatever. This show now we got young Loki. So they seem to be building towards a Young Avengers type thing. So So as all the Lokis are fighting, Loki goes back out, and even though they weren't going to help him before, like old ass Loki and young Loki, and I think alligator Loki,
right? Like the groupie, the first group.
Yeah. They're they decide that they're gonna
Ooh, that stinks.
Nice.
Terrible. I wish I could fart like you do.
God damn it.
Everybody does.
But yeah, so now they meet up with Sylvie and Owen Wilson, and she lays out this plan where she thinks she can enchant the beast.
Right.
And so there's another thing where Loki and her sit in under a blanket and just more building that they like each other basically. Okay, so yeah, then they go. Who had the tempad? Did Sylvie have it? Somebody had one that they gave to Owen Wilson.
Ultimately, yeah, Owen Wilson's the one that goes back.
Yeah, maybe Sylvie had one.
Sylvie's.
I don't remember now. But yeah, so Owen Wilson gets a tempad so he can go back, and the rest.
They choose to stay there.
Now, at first, old ass Loki and young Loki aren't really gonna go help him when enchant the beast. Young Loki does give Loki a dagger that he can use.
Some kind of enchanted sword or something.
And then they peace off, and Sylvie and Loki go to enchant this thing. And at first it's not going well. She starts enchanting it, and Loki's trying to keep it distracted so it doesn't just kill her.
Right.
But that doesn't.
Who was trying to distract?
But yeah, that doesn't work, and it's going to kill her. But then luckily, old ass Loki had a turn of heart, and he starts building all this stuff.
Right. He builds this illusion of almost an entire city.
Of Asgard, yeah.
And so that starts distracting the beast, and so Sylvie and Loki hold hands, and she's like, if I know how to enchant this thing, you do too. And so they start working together to enchant it, while old ass Loki distracts. Old ass Loki is killed by the beast, but it does give Loki and Sylvie enough time to successfully enchant it. This cloud monster breaks apart, and we see this house at the end of time, and that's how episode 5 ends. Guys, have any other things that I missed or things you want to talk about from that episode?
Yeah, that's most of the big stuff.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay. So, episode 6, we start, Loki and Sylvie, they go inside.
Well, maybe one more thing. I don't know which episode this is in, but Owen Wilson goes back and he talks to that lady again.
That's going to be this episode.
Right, and then she says something like, I'm going to go, what was it, in search of free will or some bullshit.
Yeah.
And they didn't really come back to that, did they?
No, that's another thread they left dangling.
She got some information from Miss Minutes, and then she decided to go look for him.
Okay, yeah.
By the way, what do you guys think of the general look of this show? Because they really tried to make things look weirdly analog, as far as the computers and equipment they use.
It was all 70s.
That's pretty common. I don't know, you see that a lot.
Yeah, it's
they're just trying to make it look like some shitty bureaucracy.
Yeah, I guess so.
So, yeah.
Well, the furniture and everything was 70s, I think. That was the style.
Actually, before we get into like the main story involving Loki and Sylvie, like you were talking about, Owen Wilson like confronts her. They have like this conversation. She ends up like getting the better of him, and yeah, she leaves, and I guess we'll pick up her thread again in season 2. But there is this thing where the bigger black lady, Hunter 15, shows like other members of the TVA. Like she goes back to 2018, and like they discovered that Renslayer is like a principal at this school, and so there's like that like mystery, I guess.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe it'll pan out.
Because like, and they set that up because Owen Wilson like kept noticing like this pen she had that said like Roosevelt something.
Oh, right, that was like a leader.
And that ended up being like this school. So I guess she's a variant of that lady. Maybe that's what they were showing. I don't know. So yeah, Sylvie and Loki enter this.
Victorian mansion.
Yeah, this house at the end of time. Although it's called something else.
I don't know what it was called.
Like they used another name for it. They're immediately confronted by Miss Minutes, who we haven't really talked about, but it's just like this kind of 1950s like sweet cartoon like clock.
Slash search engine.
Yeah, yeah, and she's like the one who remains. Like that's what they refer to the person in charge, the one who remains. He'll make you this deal, like Loki. You can have an infinity gauntlet. You can go back and be basically the king of the universe. Like, we'll make it work somehow. And Sylvie, I think, like, you can go back to your world and we'll just give you a head full of just pleasant memories or something like that. Isn't that kind of what they said?
I think that was an offer. Didn't they also offer them that they could go back and have, like, their own, like, timeline together?
You mean right at the beginning of the...
I don't remember.
No, that was later on.
That was later on. But anyway, they're like, nuts to that or whatever. And so, like, they're like, we made it this far. We're going in search of this one who remains. So eventually they go a little further. This elevator opens up, and it's the one who remains. I believe this actor's name is like Jonathan Majors. I had never.
I don't remember his name. He's the same guy in Lovecraft Country, isn't it?
Oh, I haven't seen that. So
I've seen him in a couple things. He's pretty good.
I'm like, if they used him, I'm sure he's been in stuff, but I haven't.
Yeah.
I didn't recognize him. So Sylvie like he's like, come into my office upstairs and we'll discuss things. And like Sylvie immediately tries to kill him, but like he jumps out of place. And he says he's just flesh and blood. But as they start talking, he's like, I know everything that's going to happen, and so that's why you're not going to be able to kill me right now. And so he basically lines things out. Now, you guys might have to help me fill in here. He basically says that he is a scientist, and
from the 31st century.
Yeah, something like that. And he discovered that there's multiverses.
Right.
And then at the same time, all these other variants of him basically discover the same thing, that there's
so
multiverses.
There's a ton of them.
Yeah, there's a ton of them. And like in the beginning, like they start working together and like they share information with one another and they're kind of friendly. But then at some point, like everything goes to shit.
Well, it's like the law of large numbers that like a certain number of them are going to be huge pieces of shit.
Something like that,
and so like those ones kind of like ruin it for everybody else by creating war and stuff. And so it's like this big war is on.
Yeah, so they basically end up having this big multiversal war. And so he basically ends up pruning every single variant timeline.
He was the winner out of all of them.
Yeah, so that he's the only one left.
And he used that monster that we saw as a weapon against the other ones.
Yeah, that's right. I think the monster they call Eliath. Yeah. And he says he was somehow able to weaponize him to create the TV and everything. So yeah, basically that's why he's so
against multiple timelines.
Yeah, that's why he's
trying to stop like the Hitler versions of him from taking over.
even though he might be the Hitler version himself, it sounds like. But he basically, as he's talking to them, he's like, listen, here's your choices. You can kill me, which...
The multiverse is going to explode again, but like he's going to exist again, and then it's all going to happen again, and he's going to be right back where they're at or something.
Yeah, he's like, there's just going to be another multiversal war that fucks up a bunch of stuff, kills a bunch of people, and some version of me is going to be sitting here anyways. Mm-hmm. He's like, or you two can make a TVA of your own, basically, and run it the way you think it should be ran.
Yeah, and take over. Well, another part is like, basically in the timeline that exists, like he knows everything, but he also seems like he controls everything. So that's kind of weird that, I don't know, he's allowing timelines to exist and then he's just cutting them off, or I don't know, but it's like he has control over it, right? And then like there's some threshold where he's released control and like they're back to the free will portion where they have to choose one or the other.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that bit's a...
Well, here's another thing that was confusing to me, because, like, in the war against Thanos, I thought that there was a multiverse in place there, and that, like, basically the one version we watched on the screen was the one where the Avengers won or something. But all the timelines should have been pruned by then, right?
What they talk about in Avengers Endgame is... Because they have there's that conversation between Bruce Banner and Tilda Swinton's character where she's like, I can't let you do this because it's going to cause all these variant timelines. But he's like, no, it won't. Because as long as when we're done here, we go back and we have Captain America put all the Infinity Stones back where we got them or whatever, it's going to be like... this never happened. Now, I don't know if...
Or was he just like analyzing all the possible futures it could be to try to pick the right one, I guess?
Doctor Strange...
It's not like a multiverse thing. It's like I don't know, like a prediction of the future or something.
Yeah, I think what Doctor Strange did, he didn't, like, look at a bunch of timelines. He just looked at a bunch of possible futures. Like if okay, I'm looking. We did this. It didn't work. We did this. It didn't work. That kind of thing.
No, wait, wasn't like Gamora got through in the pit, right? And then there was another one. I thought she was from a different universe.
Eventually. There is another Gamora, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, that's the thing. Once you involve time travel in other universes, like as much as I love it, you're always going to come up with these paradoxes where you're like...
But Loki's a Nexus being, right? Like, so that's why him being alive is a problem, because he's one of those beings that's supposed to, like, not affect the time. He's supposed to die, right? Like, isn't that his whole thing?
Well, he was supposed to go forward in time and do that whole thing where he killed his mom or whatever. But that's the thing. Like, all the variants, like, none of them were supposedly supposed to create a different timeline, but it just happened. I don't know.
Yeah, and they call those Nexus events anytime they create a branching timeline or whatever. Now, question for you guys. Now, especially this week I haven't gone on the internet and looked at a bunch of fan theories and stuff. This guy, they always refer to him as the one who remains. Now, do we think this is Kang?
Yeah, it's Kang. It's a Mortis. The Mortis version of Kang.
See, that's what I figured, but they never blatantly say it, right? They just always call him the one who remains. So I was like, I'm like, I think this is Kang, but they don't say it, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I think they're gonna like introduce him as Kang properly, like in Ant-Man or something.
Yeah, which
is like, what is Ant-Man gonna do, right?
Well, and because they said Kang is gonna be an Ant-Man, and I'm like, those movies have also like a comedic tone to them, and I'm like, I don't know, like he seems like he could be would be cooler as like a more serious villain. I don't know. I hope they don't make it too like silly.
Yeah, I hope it's not the end of him in just Ant-Man. I hope it's like just a version of Kang that Ant-Man deals with, and that there's like multiple versions of Kang, because that would be kind of a letdown if Ant-Man can beat Kang. I'd be surprised by that.
I mean, he's definitely a character that they could always find a way to write in, like even if they supposedly kill him, because there's just like other versions of him or different versions of him on the timeline, and he's a time traveler. So like they can, if they like him, they can always find a way to get him in there.
Yeah.
Oh wait, does the Loki storyline, does it occur before the big fight I was talking about?
Oh, an Endgame?
Right.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, okay. So they fuck up the timeline and allow the multiverse to expand. So, okay. It all makes sense now.
To be honest, I'm not sure how time works in the show, but I know it starts before that event, so I don't know. Maybe that's it.
So maybe the multiverse was in play. Mm-hmm. Okay.
But yeah, so he gives Sylvie and Loki like this choice. Loki believes him, and so Loki does not want to kill him. He wants, I guess, to take the option where, like, they control the TVA.
Right.
Sylvie is just dead set on killing this guy because, she hates that her childhood was taken from her.
And she thinks he's lying too.
Yeah.
So she keeps saying that he's lying.
I guess that maybe like explains her actions more, because like, really, if they did take the dual TVA route, like, you'd think that would give her the power to, make a world she would want to live in.
Right. It seems also like they could choose later and be like, you know what? Let's try the multiverse thing.
Oh yeah, they could just kill him and do that. Yeah, couldn't they?
Or they could just take control and then like be like, yeah, you know what? Maybe we should have killed him. Let's just create the multiverse. We tried ruling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed like it would have been the smarter idea. But then again, I guess it does make sense, if she's dead set on revenge and she doesn't trust him anyway. But anyway, like, this causes Loki and Sylvie to fight. And, like, eventually, like, it breaks down, like, Loki's like, I don't want to fight you or whatever. And, like, I think they have a kiss, right?
Mm-hmm.
They have a kiss, but then Sylvie, like, punts him through a time door. And he's like, fuck. And then she kills the one who, I guess, doesn't remain. And so Loki is back in the TVA. Like, there's all this madness going on. Like, timeline splittering and stuff like that. And he goes, like, to Owen Wilson and starts telling him what's happening. And Owen Wilson's like, what's your name? He doesn't remember him anymore. And then Loki looks up and he sees that the statues that were once the timekeepers is now Kang.
Right.
And he's like, and that's, the end of the season.
So, okay.
Which is definitely like compelling to go back for season 2.
Yeah, and Kang, like Mortis, when she like stabs him, he's like laughing and he's like, see you soon, and he winks at her.
Yeah.
And like when Sophie beheaded the timekeepers, when they were droids, there's actually a whisper where he's like, see you soon.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so this is kind of a callback to that.
But yeah, I feel like there was some interesting stuff, because that was like a long conversation all three of them had. And I feel like there's probably some interesting stuff within there that I'm forgetting. I know at one point, like, because he sets up that thing where, like, he knows exactly what they're going to say and do. But then at one point he's like, oh, we just reached the point where now I don't know what's coming.
Yeah. And, like, the whole time he seems like he's fine with either outcome, dying or them taking over or whatever. He's like, I'm just done. You know?
He's like said he was just tired of tired of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he lived for like eons or whatever. Yeah.
Lifetimes.
Any? Well, I guess we do this with most things. A score of 1 to 10. What would you guys give Loki?
Give it an 8.5.
Yeah, maybe an 8. Pretty good.
Yeah, I would give it like an 8. Yeah, pretty good show.
I'm looking forward to seeing Jonathan Majors in the future of the MCU. He seems like he'd be a fun guy to watch.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, this is the first thing I ever seen him in.
Yeah.
In fact, like I since I didn't know him, like when he first opened the elevator, I'm like, is this going to be the guy, or is this going to be a guy that just introduces him to the guy?
Right.
You know, I didn't know.
Yeah, but I mean, he was just showing us to be so down, like so simple man. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, that we're at like an hour and a half now, so
Okay.
so we're doing good on time. Boy, let's see. Well, anybody watching? Hopefully, you made it past my sad sack story to at least hear us get into Loki. Tell us what you thought of Loki, or if we missed anything big, let us know, or if we were wrong about something, or some of those things we weren't sure about. Smarten us up. Give us some comments and smarten us up. Anyway, anybody that watched, thank you very much. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. And why not follow us on social media so you can smarten us up there too. Guys, where can people find you on the Twitter?
I am at a name for this too, and that's number 2.
At unsolicited SUG.
And you can find me at Zach Jones Live, ZachJonesLive, especially if you're the cute nurse that took care of me. Anyway, that's going to do it for all of our poppycock and shenanigans this week. Please, please, please tune in again next week. Thank you very much. Bye, guys.
Take
Have
care.
a good one.